Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Net Report. I know it's been a long time since we've been here, but we had to take a little bit of a jump week so we could kind of, how would you say, diagnose what happened recently in NBA news with all the recent signings, trades, and all that stuff that happened at the trade deadline. And it's been 2 weeks since that's happened. So let's jump straight into a recap of what we have noticed from these so-called teams so far.
Yeah, we're kind of regathering our bearings here. There's been a whole lot of NBA news, whole lot of NBA stuff going on, and honestly, the post All-Star break NBA has been peak NBA. There hasn't been a single night that's like had a game that hasn't been much watch. I have like a whole list of games here. These are just like 10 examples of the amazing basketball we've been watching, and it just shows like how amazing it's been post All Star break. First, we have the Kings versus Clippers, second highest scoring game in NBA history. Fox had 42, Malik Monk had 45. That was also Russell Westbrook's first game as a Clipper, which shows the interesting fit, which we'll get into later. But that was interesting for so many different reasons. Then we had Celtics versus 76ers, which came down to the wire. Tatum hit that step back three, and Embiid had that half court shot that didn't count. That would have been one of the greatest buzzer beaters in history. I know Jacob's happy it didn't go in, but I'm quite sad
Bro,
it didn't, just
Jacob's not
because
here.
that
We're
would
not
have
talking
been,
about that.
it
Jacob's
would
not
have.
here. Hold on. Embiid's three would have been amazing to watch. Just seeing it go in and just as the slow mo went down, you just see his hand was still touching the ball while he was in motion. Was like, damn. Of course it was Embiid throwing that.
I know, it's very unfortunate. I think he had something similar happen to him a few years ago, too. Like,
That's
just
why it
super.
was in. Of course it was Embiid that threw it.
Just so unfortunate. But going down the list, we had a Trey Young buzzer beater against the Nets. That was cool to watch. Obviously, it was. I think he like pump faked. It was kind of like a free throw line shot, but it's always fun to see games end in buzzer beaters. We had the Lakers versus Mavs game. It was a close game. Anthony Davis hit a fadeaway to basically kind of put it out of reach. That was also the game of the LeBron injury where you heard him down on the ground. I think he said it popped, right? Or something like
Yeah, he
that.
said he heard a pop and it was just like, well, what do we do now?
So, I mean, that was big for many different reasons, but yeah, just more great basketball. And then on the same night, crazy because the Trey Young buzzer beater, the Lakers versus Mavs, and Damian Lillard 71 points versus the Rockets. This was all on the same night,
Cause it's Dame time, baby.
which I was so upset because I believe it was a Sunday night and I worked that whole entire day. I think I worked 14 hours. I was very upset. I was basically kind of like taking sneak peeks at all this. But when I heard Damian Lillard drop 71 points, that was wow. Like, I had to watch the highlights, and man was hitting three after three. And it was on a very efficient shot count. Like, he was not taking many shots till the end that were like head scratching. So it was very good. He was very good from the field, and yeah, it was just an amazing performance.
Yeah, no, it
It
was
just
most
shows
definitely an
how
amazing performance.
abysmal the Rockets defense can be. Their poor coach, man. I know he preaches defense all the time, and I know he wasn't happy about that performance. You had
Tough for him.
Brooklyn's 28-point comeback against the Celtics. That was it literally, I think it was a couple days after the Lakers versus Mavs game where they had a
Yeah, of course.
27-point
Of
comeback.
course. After the Lakers do it, the first of the season to have a 27-point comeback, you know what they do? Someone's like, yeah, no, we're gonna have 28 now. The scriptwriters are having a great time with this.
Oh yeah, they moved the script writers. They are on the off season for the NFL, so they had to come join in the NBA. But
Yeah.
they had that comeback against the Celtics, and then a couple days later, you had Julius Randle game winner versus the Heat. It was like a fadeaway three to end it, or it wasn't to end it. I think there was like 1 point something seconds left, but that was crazy, and that's really basically kind of had the Knicks on a that's kind of had the Knicks on a roll, and we'll talk more about them later. We had the 76ers snapping the Bucks winning streak the other night. I think they were at 16 wins, if I'm not mistaken.
Jesus.
And unfortunately for them, the 76ers snapped their game winning streak, but it was a very good game, very close. I have the Suns versus Mavericks game, which that was full of all kinds of all kinds of fun. It came to the end Luka missed that point blank layup, unfortunately for them. But right after that, you saw him and Devin Booker get in each other's face. Man, we need
All I got, Luca owns Devin Booker. Let's
we
be
need a
honest here.
7 game series of those teams, please. Like the Kyrie versus Kevin Durant dynamic would be huge, and then Devin Booker and Luka have already had a rivalry. It would just I don't know if
Those
it'd be round
that
one.
team right there would just be a wild. It would be fun to watch. Like that would be something to watch in the playoffs.
hmm I don't know if it's necessarily something that can be like it would have to be a round one or a round two matchup. I don't think it could be like conference final, just the way the standings kind of are right now. I mean, there's still a lot of time for things to change, but I really hope we get that in the playoffs because a 7 game series of that just sounds amazing. And then we have finally the Knicks versus Celtics double OT game the other day in which the Knicks prevailed, which against the Celtics team that's probably if not the best team, the second best team in the league. So just again, more amazing basketball, and that's only a couple examples. That's only
And
like
that's
a
just talking
few.
about certain games, not even talking
hmm
about what teams are actually doing.
Exactly. The NBA has just been on a roll lately, and I'm all for it heading into the playoffs. Each game is becoming more and more important, and we are seeing each these games are more intense, and it's great for the product.
Yeah,
I'm excited
I
going forward.
guess I'll keep watching these games while the NFL is out. Just a guess.
But yeah, let's move on to let's move deeper into a couple NBA topics. We touched on a couple, obviously going over the craziness that has been the last few weeks, but yeah, first topic, obviously the biggest over the last couple weeks. Lakers lose LeBron James. They are now trying to tread water without LeBron James. They have to he's going to be reevaluated I think 2 weeks from today. It was reported he'd be reevaluated after 3 weeks, and I think it's been a week
It
since
was
then.
2 to 3 weeks.
It's been a week since then, so they're trying to make it by without him, and I think you said they're a half a game from the play-in right now, as of we're recording
Yeah.
this.
So
They're
what I
tied
was
right
looking
now.
at is
Gotcha.
they're tied. They're
hmm
tied, but they're under the line because they are basically not what they need to be right now because they've
They don't have
lost
the
so many
tiebreaker,
games.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. They don't have the tiebreaker. So
hmm
basically, the Lakers are tied for that basic ninth and 10th spot because 9, 10, and Lakers and I believe someone else underneath them. I think it's OKC
No.
are
Yeah,
all
I'm
tied for
looking
the.
at it right now, and it's Utah's 10, 31, 34, Portland's 31, 34 at 11, and the Lakers are 31, 34 at 12. So
So it's a three-way tie.
it's very close. And I know a lot of people have been talking about the Lakers' easy schedule coming up, but it's a little
At the
skewed.
same time, it's you say it's easy, but at the same time, their star player is down.
Well, and
But
and
at
and I was about to get into it too. Their schedule, they say it's one of the easier schedules in the league, but if you're looking at what's the next 2 weeks ahead for them without LeBron, they're facing the Grizzlies, who I think might be without Ja Morant because he's still
no, the Grizzlies are without Ja Morant, and they're
yes.
not. After their
So
game that they just had, they are not too hot without Ja Morant, and Steve Adams is out right now.
So that one might be easier for them. They have the Raptors, which that's not a pushover team. They have the Knicks, who are red hot. The Pelicans, who they're competing with for those final spots, so that would be a tough game. Then they have
The
the Rockets,
Rockets.
who, let's be honest, the Rockets they should win that game.
It's
The
just the Lakers
Rockets
have a
shouldn't win
long
that game.
stretch
Sorry, the
with a
Lakers should win that
couple sprinkles in there of if you win this, it's a great game.
game. Then they have the Mavericks and the Orlando Magic. I'd say the only games that I'm like 100% confident they win are probably the Rockets and Orlando. I mean,
I'm confident they beat the Grizzlies now with Ja out.
I'd say I'd lean towards yes, but I feel like they have to go at least 500 to keep afloat, especially like that Lakers Pelicans game is going to be so important going forward. Like, if
No,
they
most
lose that
definitely.
game, they lose a lot of ground on a team like the Pelicans that's
As of right now,
competing
any
for that
game for
last
the
spot.
Lakers they lose, it's a key game that they lose.
And that's just like the 2 week period because he's just being reevaluated. He can be reevaluated, and they're like, "Oh, he's out another week or two." And I doubt it's LeBron. They're not gonna rush him back. He's 38 years old. this season, especially if they're already losing. It might be seen as a lost cause. But I mean, after that, the schedule at least kind of gets easier. I mean, they have the Suns after that, obviously not an easy game. But then they have the Thunder, the Bulls twice in a row, Timberwolves, Rockets, Jazz, Clippers, Suns, and Jazz. So it is an easier end to the schedule.
But
But
if they could win these tough games at the beginning of the schedule,
mhm,
it gives it a lot easier for them to rest people like LeBron. Like if they secure their spot, they could rest LeBron while he's after he gets out from the injury. They could
mhm,
rest AD, D'Angelo Russell, people like that. They could let people step up like Mo Bamba, see what they could do. Because as of right now, they're like getting like 5, 10 minutes in a game. But if you could see what they could kind of do at what the long stretch their bench does, then we could see what the Lakers really could do fighting with bench players.
their role players are definitely gonna have to step up, and more importantly, Anthony Davis is gonna have to step up. We're gonna have to see like
I mean,
Anthony
we say Anthony
Davis at
Davis
his
has to step up,
best.
but he has been stepping
No, he
up if
has
you
been, and
look at his
I think the
stats.
other night he had against the Warriors, he had a crazy game. Um, how many? I'm
Yeah,
looking
no,
that up right
I was
now. He
watching that. I
had
think it was 39.
Yeah, he had 39 points against the
I watched that
Warriors.
one. 39 points just and beat Steph on his first game back.
So they definitely, it's not impossible for them to make that play in, and for like playoff sake, I hope they do because I don't think it's entertaining. The playoffs aren't as entertaining without LeBron. Let's keep it real. I think a 1-8 or a 2-7 matchup with LeBron as the bottom seed would be one of the most entertaining things because you just can't count that team out. But,
Exactly.
it's going to be a very tight playoff race going into this next month, and I'm all for it. I mean, it's going to be very entertaining, and I hope they pull through. I have my not my doubts, but I have my concerns, but we'll see. Anything else you wanted to add on the Lakers, Tariq?
I mean, we know the Lakers are my team. I've been watching them closely, especially with LeBron being out. It's like, well, as a Lakers, like some people that are bandwagon Lakers fans, they hear LeBron's out. Oh, damn, we lost this year. It doesn't matter what happens. But the Lakers have not lost. They're one of the top people to really fight for these play-in spots. And if they play their cards right, they could really, really push high into these play-in spots.
And I think the
Because
one
like
thing.
someone like Golden State right now, they're in the same division at 34 with 34 wins. They're out. They're not even in play-ins. They're in the playoffs. So if you really think about it, the Lakers just have to go on a really big winning streak, and certain teams will slip out of the normal playoffs and have to go to the play-ins.
And that's the one thing they have going for them, I will say. The teams ahead of them are slipping off. Like Utah, they kind of sold at the deadline. I don't expect them to keep that spot just because if I'm Utah, at least if I'm playing this, like I'm the GM, I would want to fall out of the standings and have a shot at Victor Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson. But that's just me. I don't know how. Obviously, teams aren't going to tank. That like aren't going to
Yeah,
outright say they're tanking, but that's kind of the sense I got from Utah selling at the deadline. The Pelicans without Zion, they're very much kind of falling out of favor. I think they were the 2 seed to start the year after like I think it was the first month and a half of the season. They've really much fallen off, and
I mean,
it's due
like
to
we
the
s-
Zion injury. It's
like we
unfortunate for
said
them.
earlier, there's 4 teams positioned to fight for this 9 and 10 spot right now. Even the two 9 and 10 teams, Utah and the Pelicans, they both have 31 wins. Of course, Pelicans have one less loss because they haven't played that game yet. But there's basically 4 teams tied,
Mhm.
31 and
And I'd argue
34.
OKC's right there too, only a game behind as well. So it's going to be
OKC
very
is also
close.
right there. You're not wrong. OKC is 1 game behind. So the West is not a comfortable spot to be in right now if you're fighting for a playing spot.
hmm But I
It
mean,
is
yeah,
not
and
comfortable at all.
it's just like
And
you said
even for
too.
a normal playoff spot, you have teams that are at 34 wins. There are teams with 31 wins fighting for a play-in spot. So imagine you have to fight to stay in the playoffs and not even get demoted to the play-in.
Minnesota or Golden State could easily fall off with a 3-game losing streak. So it's
Exactly. The Mavs are 1 game behind,
mhm,
and we'll move off of the Lakers now because the Lakers are progressing with their recent pickups. You see people like D'Angelo Russell is stepping up as soon as he got there. Rui's in there going crazy. Mo Bamba's not getting many minutes, but he is getting those rebounds while he is in. And then you're seeing people like that have been on the Lakers, like Austin Reeves is finally starting to get his footing back in there, stepping up, making clutch shots. Dennis Schroeder is doing what Dennis Schroeder does for the Lakers. Like with LeBron out, the Lakers have weapons, they just have to utilize them.
They finally have depth, which is very important. You couldn't say that a couple months ago when they started.
They finally have depth, but they don't have a center besides Mo Bamba.
Hey, that's why AD
Dude,
got to play the five man. He got a full
AD
time
hates
five.
the five man. I know he hates the five man.
Hmm. But I mean, he's got to be able. It creates mismatches. He's got to be able to do it. I mean, I know you have the injury concerns, but man, that team's just so much better when he's the five, in my opinion. But yeah,
It
I
most
guess we'll.
definitely is. AD as the five man is a different breed out there.
Hmm. I do want to move off the Lakers now because I know we've been talking about them for a minute, but move on
I
to
mean,
another. Oh, what were you gonna say, Tarique? Sorry.
oh no, I was about to say going because I wanted to move into this team going off to the Lakers while we were talking about like teams moving from playoffs into play-ins and play-ins into playoffs. The Mavs are one game behind. We could talk
Hmm.
about the Mavs right now.
Yeah, they've really started falling off towards after the Kyrie trade. Honestly, let's be honest. I don't remember the exact record. I saw a few days ago they were 1-4. I think they're probably like I want to say 2-4. I don't know off the top of my head. I should have got the stats before, but they've kind of. I mean, they never really had. They didn't have a defensive identity before the trade. I feel like because last year they were like a top defensive team even in the playoffs. That's how they were able to force so many upsets and advance so far into the Western Conference Finals. But
Yeah.
this year it's just been a lot worse even before the trade, before they traded Dorian Finney-Smith, and now they just don't have any sense of defense. I know they picked up Aaron Holiday on the buyout market. That's cool and all, but like let's keep it real. That's not going to magically fix anything. I mean, hate to
No, it's
break it
not.
to I think Maverick fans are finding that out too. Sorry, I said Aaron Holiday. I meant Justin Holiday. My apologies. But yeah, it's not fixing anything. Let's keep it real. They don't have the defense they need. There's no perimeter defense. I mean, they're trying to outscore
Mm.
their opponents, which is I mean, with Luka and Kyrie, it's very possible on any given night, but it's not
I don't
working
know.
right now. And I mean, obviously
They're
it's
most
going to take.
definitely a high scoring team. Like
Mhm.
if they can outscore if they just keep scoring, they'll most definitely do good. But it's the point of what happens once the other team starts scoring high. That's where they fall into their struggle.
Mhm. And it's gonna take time for things to gel and things to get right. I know Jason Kidd was mad the other night about Luca. He was complaining to the officials, and he didn't get back on defense in a crucial possession. And I know he got on him for that. I mean, it's gonna take time. This whole thing is gonna take time for them. I think they'll pick it up sooner rather than later. Like I don't expect them to fall out of the play-in just because they have so
No.
much talent, but it's gonna there's gonna be need to be some changes, and I don't see them being a major playoff contender this year, unfortunately. Although I love seeing Luca in the playoffs and I want to see them succeed, but I could see it next year if they make some moves, get some perimeter defense, and most importantly, of course, re-sign Kyrie. That's the biggest factor. We don't know what Kyrie's gonna do because Kyrie's Kyrie, but we'll see. I
I
mean,
mean, the thing is with Kyrie, nobody knows what he wants to do. He's already talking about wanting to be reunited with Bron, and it's like you're gonna leave the Mavs and go straight back to the Lakers already. I mean, well, not back to the Lakers, but go straight to the Lakers after you just got to the Mavs and started doing good with them.
and I know a lot of it is speculation too, so we don't want to get too into those tropes right now. Like it's all speculation, but you
Yeah,
just know it's not a good look, and I worry
I
for
mean,
this Mavericks team's future, and I hope they're able to get it together at least by the end of the season. That way they can convince kind of Kyrie, hey, buy into this. We can make this happen.
we
So,
can make this work. Get it
mhm.
together.
More importantly, I need them, like I said earlier, to stay in the playoff race so we can get this Suns Mavericks matchup. Like, I don't care how it
Oh yeah,
happens. I just need it to happen. Whether it's a 4-5 matchup, a 2-7, a 3-6, like It's a second round matchup. I don't care how it happens. I just need it to happen because
Yeah.
7 games of that would be so entertaining.
Just looking in the long run here, aren't you?
Yes, I am ready for playoff basketball, and I am ready for these marquee matchups. And that's the thing I'm a little worried about coming into the playoffs. Because don't get me wrong, no disrespect to teams like Memphis and Sacramento, but I am worried that because they're such high seeds, it's gonna lead to like certain playoff matchups being missed that what we would really want as fans. Like, for example, Phoenix Dallas might not happen because maybe because of like Memphis and Sacramento. And let's be honest, most of us would probably rather see Phoenix Dallas than like Memphis Dallas or like I don't
Oh, most
know.
definitely.
Exactly, like or Sacramento, Warriors. We want to see these marquee matchups, and
I mean,
hopefully
everybody
the
wants to
seating works
basically
out.
see the stuff. Everybody basically wants to see how it used to be, where all of a sudden you get Bron and Steph both in the playoffs at the end, and it's like, wow, this is something I want to watch.
It's
Like
it's
you want
weird.
to see the top of the top get into the playoffs and face each other at the end. You want to see these superstars do what they got to do.
And it's weird because, like you said, we usually see it towards the end, in the finals, Western Conference finals. This year, the Western Conference standings are so jumbled. You may be getting, like, I'd argue you could get the best matchup of the playoffs in round one. Like, I don't know if I die on that hill, but it's very possible. Like, Warriors, like, right now, the 4-5 seed is Warriors Phoenix Suns. Like, that would be an insane first round series. Like, those are like could be the two favorites going into the playoffs. No disrespect to like Denver, but those are like two of the heavy favorites. So,
Yeah, and one of them knocking each other out right at the beginning is like, well, what are we watching now?
well, no, I wouldn't say that because
I'll
there's
say
so
that.
many good teams in the West. Like I'm gonna have fun watching either matchup. Like I said, I know I was kind of disrespecting Memphis and Sacramento. They play entertaining basketball, and I think they're gonna put the world on notice. I think the only one, I'll be honest, I'm sorry, Timberwolves fans, they're the only ones I'm probably not super excited to see in the playoffs
You don't
right
want to see
now.
Karl Anthony Towns in there? Huh?
Man, I no disrespect to the
Huh?
Timberwolves,
Huh?
but there's not a single team in the top 8 I can see them beating in
You
a 7
Magic
game
fan.
series. So sorry, no disrespect to them, but at least the other teams I can, you know, convince myself, wow, this could go either way.
Hmm.
But yeah, let's move on to another Western Conference team that has been picking up steam as of late. The Phoenix Suns finally had Kevin Durant debut against the Charlotte Hornets, and since
Still
then,
such a
I
wild
believe they're
place for me
undefeated.
to think he goes.
Sorry, Tariq?
It's just seeing KD go to the Suns was such a wild place. Like
Mm-hmm.
I would have betted every dollar that's where I would not think he would have gone. I would have gone to any other place.
It was an insanely good move. It's just insane move. I
No,
mean, it makes them the heavy favorite, and
most
honestly, they've looked amazing
definitely.
ever since.
It was most definitely a great move by them, but it was the point that like everybody looks at KD, it was like, wait, you're going there?
I don't know if I'd say
Like,
that
don't get me
because
wrong, you don't get me wrong, you don't lie to me. You know you saw KD gets traded to the Suns, and you're like, wait, KD's at the Suns?
I don't know if
Like,
I'd say that because they were rumored for a while to be in the KD sweepstakes. It's just everything happened so fast. Like they were rumored last year when a lot of people thought KD was going to be traded, but because everything heated up so quickly after Kyrie left, it was kind of like, oh my god, he went to the Suns. This is crazy.
yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff, but it's a great move by the Suns. KD has most definitely put his mark on that place. They're
He
winning games. They're in the playoffs.
he's
Like
looking like he
the
fits
Suns
very
are.
well.
He is fitting very well in there, and I give him props. New team, just fitting perfectly with the new team. Got people like Devin Booker around you, and you guys are working, not being selfish. It's just perfect fit for him.
It's beautiful to
Like kudos to
watch.
that man, just stepping in and just all of a sudden making this Suns team beat people like the Mavs. Like
Hmm.
everybody talks about Luca. Like I said earlier, Luca owns Devin Booker, but they just beat the Mavs with KD. Like come
Hmm.
on now.
And
Like
they
this
have
is a different Suns team that we're looking at now. You can't say they're the same thing.
oh no, they definitely are. I don't want to say they're not deeper, but I mean they still have a very good, like, their starting five's one of the best. I mean, they have Okogie in at forward, which but I mean, aside from that, you got Durant, Ayton, Booker, Chris Paul. That's an insane lineup, and you still got players like Cameron Payne, Terrence Ross, off the bench, Torrey Craig. So I mean, that's a solid 8-man rotation going into the playoffs, which a lot in the playoffs teams typically, they shorten their rotation to 8 or 9 guys. You're not playing more than 10, 11 guys.
Yeah.
So it gets starters are playing heavier minutes. So it could work. It really could work. I know a lot of people were like crying about the depth, but you have to remember once playoffs come around, depth
Depth is a
is
very
it's
important thing that a lot of people
It's
look over.
important, but I feel like people overvalue it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think people overlook it.
Yes, but I mean, teams it gets overlooked when teams have like a big three, and then nobody else around them. But like, if you remember teams like the Warriors who have won in the past, they haven't had incredible depth, but they've had enough to run like solid 8 or 9 man rotations to where you're not throwing out someone as your eighth or ninth man who shouldn't really be getting minutes on a
Yeah,
minimum.
and like the Warriors, yes, they have their main four guys, well, three guys, yeah. Four guys if you want to include Iguodala.
I
Like
want
yes,
Iguodala.
but the Warriors, yes, they've had their main three guys and stuff like that, and was able to substitute random people in every now and then and give at least one or two of the guys a break at a time. But the Suns are really basically doing what the Warriors did with having their main three guys and then having people back up just so one or two of the guys can take a break at a time.
Hmm. So
And which is a smart move by the Suns, like doing stuff like that, giving your main guys help and letting them take breathers and not have to worry that they're up by 14 and all of a sudden they're up by only two now and they have to go in and start playing as hard as they could.
no, I got you. I
Um,
got you.
but yeah, kudos to the Suns. I think the Suns are doing what they got to do,
Yep.
and I
And
guess
they have a month to gel together, get into form, and it'll be scary come playoff time.
yeah.
Yeah, one more
Um,
thing I want to touch on the Western Conference before we kind of move on
is
to
it the Clippers?
yes, Clippers. I wanted to.
It
You already read my mind.
is the
Uh,
Clippers.
we have the Clippers. They've also struggled a little bit since the trade deadline and All Star break. Obviously they signed Russell Westbrook. They went 0-4 to start with him, and they finally won one game a couple nights ago. It was against the.
While you do that, the Clippers have been having a lot of really close games, uh, high scoring games at that too.
Hmm.
Very wild to watch. I think Russell Westbrook has found his fit from recent years.
Yeah, it was against the Grizzlies. My bad, but
Of course, the Grizzlies. We'll
but
talk about them later.
I mean, it looked like a struggle at first. I mean, he's slowly finding his place on that team. We still have the same issues. I mean, I don't know if they'll ever go away with Russell Westbrook. I just hate to say it. I
My
love the. I mean,
gosh.
I don't hate Westbrook, but like, it's the same issues everywhere he goes. It's turnovers, poor shot selection, and I mean, at least in the Clippers, for the Clippers' sake, it's not like when he was on the Lakers and you're paying him $45 million or however much it was a year, and you're almost forced to play him.
Yeah.
But the Clippers, they have him on a minimum, so or on a buyout deal, so you can bench him, and it doesn't change anything to your team. Like, and it's weird too because
Yeah.
they're playing him at point now. Terrence Mann wasn't doing a bad job before he got there, and they kind of fell off once they put him there. I don't know if that's necessarily his fault or if that's just bad timing or whatnot. But Terrence Mann was running the point, and the team looked smooth. I don't think I don't think Terrence Mann's a natural guard, so I didn't know if that was sustainable, but I don't know. I mean, I'm going to give it more time. I don't want to sit there and be like, yeah, the Clippers are cooked because of Westbrook, because I feel like that's just a lazy approach to take. It's not
No, they're
very.
most definitely not
Mhm.
cooked because of Westbrook.
I think there's a lot more to it, and time will
I
tell.
think that's what I was about to say. I think we just need more time to look at this Clippers team to see what actually happens with them. See what path they go down, see if they do good or bad with it. I feel like my take is I feel like the Clippers are gonna be the perfect spot for Westbrook because he is doing his thing out there. He's scoring points, getting his rebounds and stuff like that. I feel like Westbrook's gonna do great with the Clippers.
Hmm.
He also didn't have to move too far from LA, from the Lakers.
Yes, sir. And I'm gonna move
Wait,
on
hold
real
on.
quick because I know we've been rambling for a bit about different teams. The Knicks are on a roll. I want to give them a shout out. They've beat a couple high profile teams in the Eastern Conference now. They beat the Celtics the other night, like I said in double T. They beat the Bucks as well. They're doing great. Jalen Brunson has been a demon the past 2 months. Just I think he's been averaging like I saw something crazy because I have he's gonna be part of a video idea I have for the future, but I think he's averaging something crazy like over 30 points per game for the month of February, which is just insane.
Jeez.
Julius Randle has really stepped his game up the last few games. Even Emmanuel quickly had an insane game against the. Sorry, I said they beat the Bucks earlier. I meant the Heat, but Emmanuel quickly had an insane game. He scored like I want to say 36 points against the Celtics. 38, my
Yeah.
bad, 38. I knew it was somewhere around that range, but he scored 38 points against them, and just everyone's been stepping up, and it's been insane to see. So I want to give the Knicks a shout out too.
Well, yeah, most definitely give the Knicks a shout out. They went from a team that nobody would really mention to, oh my gosh, you guys are winning. You guys are scoring high points. What is going on?
And they're getting
You
hot
guys
at the
are,
right time too. They got Mitchell Robinson back, and it's been looking great ever since. So he's given them a nice rebounding presence, a real center presence, to be honest. So I think that has a lot
yeah.
to do with why they're so successful now. So who knows? I mean, I don't know what the ceiling is for them. If I had to guess, maybe second round conference finals if we're really stretching it, but they'd have to get the right matchups and be insanely hot for that. But I mean, I'm
Yeah.
glad to see them doing good because I know their fans have suffered for years.
Most definitely. Before we keep talking about teams, I want to talk about a game that just happened.
Ooh.
76ers and the Pacers game. Did you see that?
I think I did take a peek at it. Embiid had like a ridiculous amount of points,
Embiid
right?
Embiid had
42,
42
yeah.
points. They
Mhm.
just the game was 147 to 143.
Mhm. These and these high scoring games are getting out of hand. Like
Like what? That is such. Wasn't it like at second? I want to say it was like the second. What's it called? At the second quarter, they were finishing with about 70 points each.
these
Like it's just
scores have been insane, and I mean it's fun to watch as a fan. I mean, who doesn't want to watch them pile on the score? I know as a Magic fan, I wish I could see that because they struggle on offense, but
yeah.
I would love to
But
see
that
150-point games.
but that was just something I wanted to bring up.
Mhm.
What team do we want to talk about? The
Uh,
finish to the playoffs, real quick. Unless you got another team to really like
I
talk
was just
about.
gonna highlight the Bucks. I wasn't gonna go too far into it, but they were on a 16 game winning streak. They finally lost to the 76ers, but man, they're up there with they're actually the number one seed now,
They
which
just yeah, that's
mhm,
what I wanted to talk about. Like
mhm.
that playoffs in the East, those two top spots are going back and forth with each other right now.
Mhm.
That
They're
16 game winning streak most definitely saved them, but
they're definitely the two best teams in the NBA right now, in my opinion. I think Phoenix could be close in on them if they gel together, of course, but they're my
yeah,
favorites right now, and I think that it's a collision course to the conference finals. I mean, I love teams like Philly and Cleveland and New York, but I just don't see them beating those two teams in a 7 game series, especially if Milwaukee
yeah.
does finish 1-2, which I can't see it. It'd be a very long shot to assume Philly overtakes one of them.
I really want the Celtics to lose. I don't like the Celtics at all.
Jacob's gonna love that one. It's just they're doing amazing. I mean, Giannis has been on another one. I know the one question mark has been Chris Middleton and whatnot, but they're getting hot towards the playoffs, and that's what they need going forward. We're seeing them get hot at the right time. The Celtics have been hot too. I know they lost a couple, but you know they'll be okay. I'm not worried about either one of them. I think a collision course is imminent, and it's going to be an entertaining playoff series.
Yeah, but I think that's where we're gonna really. After that, I think that's where we really wrap it up on these teams after the trade deadline. I think all these teams that have made the trades are using their players to their advantage, and us as fans are really seeing the outcome of these trades that are helping them.
Yep, most certainly, most certainly.
In other NBA news, Ja Morant, why?
We'll get into that real quick. That's a whole ordeal.
Like, my look at this is like you're at the top of your game right now. You're in what people like to call the beginning of their prime. You have a great background. You have nothing wrong with you, and like you're doing stuff like this, and it's really bad for your image. It's bad for trying to prolong your career. Like now you're taking games off, and the Grizzlies are in a really tough spot right now because yes, they are number two in the West Conference, but number two in the West is a really hard fight to keep right now with a lot of teams fighting to get into it.
Mhm. And for those who don't know as well, just because there's been I know not everyone might not know of the situation going on. Ja Morant's been the center of a lot of controversy lately. He's had a couple of incidences going on, but the most recent one was of him flashing a gun on Instagram Live. Basically, I don't know how to word it. But I don't know how to word it well, but he was flashing a gun on Instagram Live. I don't know if you want to say flexing or whatever. And
He was
obviously,
basically
the
flashing a
NBA.
gun on Instagram Live. Something from apparently last summer where he fought a kid is popping up now. It's just
Yeah,
a lot of stuff
there
is
was
going on
that
with him.
article about where he had punched a was it a minor? It was like a 16-year-old or something like that.
Yeah, it's like some park, and then all of a sudden
It's
ran
all
to his
allegedly
house.
too,
It's
so
just a lot of alleged stuff,
we
so I don't
don't
want
know
to
how
get
true
into
it
it. But
is.
the Instagram thing we do know is true because
Yeah,
we all
of
saw it.
course.
There's video out there, the Instagram thing, so I'm
But
not
I'm
going to get
talking about the
into.
previous
Oh yeah, no,
accusation
that's why I don't
too.
want to get into that. But this
This
is
one
something you could
obviously,
really
and
get
it
into.
was literally a couple days after that alleged police report came out, and it's just
Exactly.
horrific timing. It's very much like he should be able to read the room and know this is not a good idea. And obviously his I don't know if it was his PR team or if it was him in particular who was like, "Hey, I need to get right. We're going to take these 2 games off." But it's just a
It's not
really
even two
bad.
games. I think he's taking more than 2 games off.
Well, it was 2 games at first. I don't know if it's going to be more. I don't know what's.
I don't. That's
It
a
remains
lot of
to be
people were making
seen.
fun of it for when they said 2 games. It was like, oh, 2 games. What's that gonna do? That's like 3 days together.
And I know, I think he was quoted as saying he needs to find better ways to fight off stress. But like, come on, being able waving guns on Instagram Live is not a way to fight stress. I hope he figures it out because he's young, he's in his prime. He doesn't. Ja Morant doesn't seem like a bad person. We've seen him do good for the community before too. I just think he might be surrounded by the wrong people and
Yeah.
I hope he figures it out because we've seen this very much with athletes like that throw it all away for dumb reasons. There's so many
And
different
honestly,
cases.
I hope he's not one of them. I hope he fixes what he's got
He
to
has all
do.
the
It's not
talent
even
in the
fixing what you
world.
got to do. It's just the point of don't do stuff like that.
hmm And
Like you don't have to fix anything with your life. Just don't be flashing stuff like that.
exactly, it's very easy. Like, I feel like when you're a millionaire, it should be very easy not to do dumb stuff like flash guns or get
Especially
involved in
when
altercations.
you
It's
are
not
like one
worth
of the
it.
especially when you're like the top guy in the NBA right now. Everybody knows
hmm
you for posterizing everybody that they
top
idol,
top
and you're gonna
15 player in the NBA probably, maybe top 10. I don't know. I'm not going to give you
yeah.
my top 10. I'm just, and it's just horrible timing. Eh,
He just got to get it together. Like that's all he
mhm.
has to do. There's nothing really much more to it. Like put the guns down. You're in the NBA. The only shooting you should be doing is behind the 3-point line.
The only shooting you should be doing is on the court. I love that, Tarique.
Quote of the
But
year right there. But it's the truth. It is the truth. You should not be posting these type of things, Ja.
hmm
And honestly, like there's no reason for you to post these kind of things. You don't have anybody against you.
and I
There's
think
no reason.
hopefully it's a learning lesson for him. I don't want to see him throw it away because obviously we've seen it with athletes like Gilbert Arenas, ironically, with the whole gun situation in the locker, and that was a long time ago. This other example I'll give, it's not really comparable because it's something so different, but we've seen Josh Gordon throw his career away basically for weed. Obviously, two different things, but you know, it's just dumb things that could be prevented, and you're throwing your career away and millions of dollars away. Now, I know
Hmm.
Morant has his money, he has his extension, but still, it's the fact that like you don't want to risk it all for something so dumb and pointless.
Yeah, no, he most definitely has a lot going on for him. If he could fix what he has to fix right now, good for him. But as of right now, take a few weeks off,
I wouldn't even say a
take some
couple
time.
weeks. He just needs like the proper guidance. Like, and I'm sure, I mean, as long as his agents and PR people aren't the ones like, basically encouraging this type of behavior, he should be okay. And I'm sure,
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't take, I feel like it doesn't take a ridiculous guidance system to know, yeah, I shouldn't be doing this. This is wrong. And like I said, if it really is stress, like he's saying, which I don't know if I buy that, but I'll take him at his word. You gotta figure out ways to deal with your problems and stuff. That's not that, man. That's not that.
yeah, posting guns is not the.
And here's the thing, like I know people were commenting and saying, well, it's technically not illegal, and it's like, yeah, of course, anyone I guess in America has the right to flash their gun on Instagram live. That's not technically against the law, but it's such a bad look as an NBA player, and it's just not reading the room. And obviously, if any regular person does that, their job finds it, they can get in big trouble. So I mean,
Yeah,
that's just, it's a bad situation overall, all around. And I hope Ja figures it out for his sake, because he's very talented and I want to see him succeed at the NBA level.
no, he most definitely is very talented. I want to see Ja come back because Ja, I- that boy has a lot of bounce to him. Let's be honest, that boy is jumping everywhere. It's just crazy to see the posterizing dunks that he does. Like, yes, I know a lot of the posterizing dunks is just because he tries to do it as hard as he could to certain people, but it is that you have a very high vertical and you have skills that were gifted to you that a lot of people wish they had.
Don't throw
So
it
just
away.
don't throw it away on this BS. But
But
we could get off of the topic of Ja now. He's going to fix what he's got to do. Hopefully it works out for him, and we'll see what happens. But I think that's the end of the NBA for us.
yes,
We
let's
but
move on to the NFL.
speaking in the NFL with the franchise tags ending tomorrow at 4 p.m., a lot is going on.
hmm Some
I want to talk
major.
about the biggest franchise tag in my opinion.
Oh yes, go for it.
Daniel Jones, what are you doing?
Or the
You
biggest
are
franchise tag that
asking.
hasn't happened yet.
It is going to happen with what he's asking for. You are not worth 45 million.
It's
45
definitely, it's very crazy to me that
It
Daniel
is
Jones is
very like you
asking for
either
that.
lower your price or you are getting franchise tagged.
Well, I mean, if he gets franchise tagged, he's still. I mean, I wouldn't say he's still laughing at the bank because it's not a long term contract, but he's getting
No, you get
paid
franchise
like a
tagged, you
top.
get one, you
No,
get
you get a
32 million for
ridiculous one
one
year deal, but I
32
don't even.
million.
Yeah, and I don't think he's even worth that. Like, let's keep it.
Geno Smith, Geno Smith just signed through 3 years
With
with
the
the Seahawks,
Seahawks,
right?
yes, and it was 105 million, right? That
For three
sounds
years.
correct. Yes.
For 3 years.
hmm
Geno's getting paid 35 million a year.
Yes.
Daniel, you're not worth that. You're
And
not. You're worth
yes, they're still
to me,
hoping.
you are worth 35 million a year. Yes, to me, you're worth 35 million a year. I'm a Giants fan. I loved what you did last year.
Mhm.
You shouldn't pass 35 though.
And I know they're still
You
hoping
haven't
for upside,
proved
but ah,
you haven't proved that you're worth more than 35 to me yet.
and we'll see what the giant. By the time this is uploaded, I think it will. We'll know what
By the
has
time this is
happened.
uploaded, we will know what will happen, but
But
you are not worth
I
35 million
think,
yet.
and Jacob stated it very well in the chat earlier today. I think the best move is to franchise tag Daniel Jones and try
Tag
to
him.
work out a contract with Saquon, because
Saquon's gonna
you
hit the free agency if we don't.
you have to have him show you that he can keep this consistent, because Yes, he had a good season this year, but it wasn't anything like spectacular. Yes, the Giants made the playoffs, but I would argue that was more on the back of their defense and a really good running game. Daniel Jones obviously did what he had to do, but when you're paying this much for a quarterback, you need to make sure they are able to elevate your team, and that's still a big question mark for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Daniel just has to get it fixed. Whatever he's doing, he needs to get it together. I'm not saying he's not worth anything, but I know he's not worth as much as he's asking for right now.
And the good
Because
news
he did prove himself to be worthy of a contract.
And the good news is they are slowly getting toward. I think I saw it being reported they are slowly getting towards. They're getting towards an agreement. They're getting closer on a deal, I should say, which is a lot better than when he first said 45 million and they looked at him like he was crazy. I mean, I guess you got to start your
I'm looking at him like
negotiations
he's
high.
crazy. What?
You got to start your negotiations high, so
What?
I get it, but wow. I know you mentioned it earlier too, but Geno Smith signed a 3-year deal with the Seahawks. I think it's about
Good for
market
Gino.
value for QBs. I mean, QBs are getting paid ridiculous money nowadays, so
They are,
it
but good for Gino.
it looks
He
good
earned
for
that.
him. I know we were trashing him on the last
I
podcast.
was. I
Well, yeah,
was.
you were. I was
I most definitely
coming
was.
to I
But
was
good for
coming to
him.
his
He finally
defense,
got it.
but
He finally got what he needed.
he deserves. That's a
Finally got a
comeback story
contract
for
and a
the
starting job.
ages. It's worth 100 million. I'm glad for him. He deserves it, and I think it's the perfect contract for the Seahawks too, because you're not anticipating maybe Geno to be your franchise QB, but he's a good placeholder. Let's see what he can do next year, and we'll see.
Let Gino cook.
Let Geno cook. Another interesting signing today. Derek Carr to the Saints. Uh,
Yeah, most definitely.
it was
Good for-
I want to look it up. It was 4 year, I think 150 million. Yeah, it was 4 years, 150 million, 100 million guaranteed. I mean, this is a very much Saints move, and from the looks of it, they wanted a QB who could at least be kind of competent to above average, and I think Carr is that. They have a very good supporting cast around him, so it's a good move for them in the sense that he's got weapons. He's got Olave. He's got Michael Thomas if he ever stays healthy. You've got other
Is Michael
gadget guys
Thomas
like.
back?
Well, I mean,
Can you just shush me?
no, I didn't shush you. I just said.
Oh.
No, I didn't. God, dude. No, but I was saying they got Michael Thomas. If he's ever healthy, that's the whole thing. But Chris Olave, you got Shaheed, who can be a deep threat sometimes. You got Taysom Hill, who nice gadget, tight end slash hybrid, whatever.
We don't know if Michael Thomas is coming back. Ever
Mm-hmm.
shush me again for that?
Huh?
To ever shush me again? You
I
most definitely
never
shush
should.
me.
Yo, I will play back this footage, and
You
I
can play this
promise
back. You most definitely went.
I did not shush you. No.
Okay. Okay.
We will play this back, and we will let everyone in the comments section determine whether I shushed you.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
I'll be waiting.
but yeah, he's got a good supporting system. I don't think the Saints were terribly bad this year. He's got Kamara in the backfield too. He'll be suspended the first however many games, depending on his settlement or depending on the court case, whatever's going on with him. But like I said,
Yeah.
good system to be around. I imagine they have to be better with him than Andy Dalton and Jameis. So I mean, it's an improvement. They're probably the NFC South favorites now, which isn't saying much because that division is so weak and so bad. But I mean, this makes them a playoff contender, I guess. Makes them division leaders, probably.
And speaking of the Saints, this leads to people like, where does Jameis go now? Does Jameis find another team?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't know if he gets another starting job or if it is, it's going to be like a Marcus Mariota type deal where he's just the placeholder starter. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we'll see.
yeah, there's a couple other interesting players on the trading block. I think Derrick Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry was on the trading block.
Derrick Henry.
Announced
I
today.
can't believe that.
I'm not surprised. I've always been one that says the Titans need to rebuild. I don't know if I'd trade Henry because I'm still very much of on the thought they could trade up for a QB. And if there's a chance they could trade up for a QB, they'd have to deal multiple first round picks, but this is a really good QB class. And whether they trade it for like a Shroud, or I don't know if it's realistic for them to trade up for Bryce Young, but I thought them getting a QB, having a good support system with like Derrick Henry and some receivers. They'd have to shore up the receivers, of course,
Yeah.
but it's looking like that's not the route they're going to take. They're going to go towards a full rebuild. They've been making cuts, getting a lot of cap space, so we'll see. Ramsey's been kind of on the trade block too. I don't know if I see the Rams trading him, just because I still don't think their window is closed, in the sense maybe they can still be contenders. It just relies on a lot of factors. And then DeAndre Hopkins, we're just waiting to see where he gets traded, really.
Don't forget Chosen Anderson.
What?
Oh, you didn't know about that? Robbie Anderson changed his name to
Oh
Chosen.
my god, no, I did know about that. It took me a minute, but my god, I saw
Yeah,
that.
he's now
I
the
thought it
chosen
was a
one.
joke. I thought it was like a parody sports account, and when I saw it was a real
Nope,
thing.
it was real.
No, I know. I was so shocked. I was like, he changed his
He
name
really
to
changed his name
Chosen
to
Anderson.
Chosen.
Why? Why?
Dude, what?
But
Like,
there's
I
a
don't
couple.
know. Changed his name to I'm stuck on that Chosen.
There's a couple franchise tags I want to get into too that were, if you can remember, this is just off the top of my head, so
Tony
I'm definitely
Pollard.
missing. But yes, Tony Pollard. Not surprising for the Cowboys. Probably the correct move given Zeke. He's not that guy anymore. I'm sorry. We're
You're
still
not that
waiting.
guy, pal.
We're still waiting on Lamar Jackson. Whether he gets franchise tagged, we'll know by tomorrow. Evan Ingram was franchise tagged. That's not a surprise. Josh Jacobs was franchise tagged. Not a surprise as well. Those are the biggest ones I can think of off the top of my head, unless you have any other ones.
Raiders franchise has Josh Jacobs. Cowboys, Tony Pollard. Chiefs release Clark.
Yeah, that was the
Vikings
big ones.
release Eric Kendricks.
I was not aware of that one. Wow, I'm shocked. I was not aware of that one. That's actually a big
Yeah,
one.
no, that is a big one. Hold on, I'm going
Yeah,
to
that was
the
today.
page.
Wow.
The NFL does not. Yeah, that was today.
I need to get my notifications on set because I'm shocked I missed that. I'm quite upset at myself for that.
Um, DeAndre Hopkins is in Dallas right now
I'm
with Des
sorry.
Bryant.
I thought you were gonna say a dark room, and I was about to.
No.
They're gonna say he's sitting in the dark
Um,
room too.
the Broncos might be quietly shopping wide receiver Cortland Sutton. That's a dumb
So
one,
nothing
but
crazy.
apparently,
I would say those are probably the most important franchise tags. But
yeah.
I mean,
Alan Lazard is being looked at by the Ravens and the Chiefs right now.
eh. But yeah, I
Eh.
mean, that's the big NFL news going on. I mean, cool, I guess. One more thing I want to touch on
No.
before we wrap up this pod, as well, is just
Calvin Ridley is back.
yes, that is very cool. But no, that's not what I
I
was
could
gonna say.
bet on my boy.
But no, I wanted to touch on the NFL Combine too. Anthony Richardson looked like an alien. He's definitely helped his draft prospect. I know we're not super. Tarique's pretty knowledgeable at college ball. I'm definitely the oddball out of the three of us. But
Oh my gosh, watching the combine running a 4.43 as a QB, one of the fastest ever. Also had one of the farthest broad jumps no, he broke the record, the farthest broad jump for a QB.
all the quarterbacks looked really good in the combine, and it's
Yeah,
very
hopefully the
for someone
Giants
like
decide to say Daniel and pick him up.
um
Tired of Daniel Jones right now. Like, I loved him last season, but you're asking for too much. I'm not getting back into that. Keep going.
yeah. But they all looked very good, and for someone like Will Levis, who like had a pretty good combine, his draft stock still tanked because Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud were like so much better. So like, especially Richardson, of course, but I know Bryce Young measured in a little shorter, and there's big concerns about his height. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think that should be a big
I don't
deal
think it
just because
matters.
we've seen it work with like guys like Kyler before. I think Bryce Young has the higher floor out of any of these quarterbacks. I think he still has a high ceiling, but I would argue like Richardson has a higher ceiling, but his floor is like beneath the floor. Like you're either getting Terrell Pryor or you're getting like someone insane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a gamble, but it's always fun. I think this quarterback class has a potential to be very, very good. So I'm excited. I think there's going to be a lot of teams trading up. So we'll see. Anything else you wanted
There's
to
most.
add combine wise? Because I know I'm not as.
I mean, the NFL Combine, like the biggest thing, like we've talked about, is Anthony Richardson. Like I don't know what got into him, but he is going crazy.
Mm,
There's nothing much else from the combine. QBs are doing their thing out there. I don't know. There was that one tight end. I forgot what his name was.
oh,
Bro,
I
there's
know
like
he
there's a
ran like a ridiculous 42, right?
I think so, but he's huge and he basically if you it was like if you pick this man up, you're basically getting another offensive lineman with
Oh,
the
was it the
tight
six
end
seven
skills.
guy?
Yes.
Yes, I saw that. I don't remember his name,
Bro,
but
I
that's
don't
like
know what his
the
name was,
number
but
one thing I thought
he
of too.
moved that thing. I was like, "What?"
I thought of
The
the
sled, he like picked it up and just kept walking.
I thought of I'm like, yep, if that makes if LeBron James played tight end, that would be cuz
That would
the
be LeBron right there.
Darnell
I was like,
Washington, Darnell
there
Washington.
it is. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I've never heard of him until now, but like seeing him there, I was like, what? Like,
He's
what
going to
school did
be
he go
he
to?
has potential to be a unicorn and we love unicorn players, so
What school did he go to?
Georgia.
Georgia. Okay, the
Mhm.
Georgia boy, wild.
But yeah,
Just you think of something like that would be talked a lot more about.
we'll hear more about we'll talk more about the draft coming up too, just because it's always fun to do mocks. We'll definitely be doing our own mock drafts as well, going on probably on our Instagram page, and we might even make it into a YouTube video if you really want to, Tariq. I'd be down for that if you are, but
We could do that.
mhm.
We could do that. We have
I
quite
know
a
me
few
and
things we
Jacob
have to
did one
do.
for 2020 and it was very fun to look back at this past year, so I'm definitely down to do them every year just to always have to look back at and laugh at our laugh at our
Yeah,
miscues.
but
But yeah.
all in all, I feel like the combine shows that there's a lot of skill, even in the late parts of the draft, that you're able to pick up.
Mhm.
But NBA, still a lot of stuff to watch, especially with the closing of the season. Can't believe it's getting as close as it is. NFL, a lot of things to look for once the free agency finally opens up. Um, but I feel like this is going to be another good year for sports. MLB, I know we didn't talk about it at all, but
But spring
MLB
training started.
spring training has started. I know a lot of people don't really look at spring training, but for some people, this is where they fight for their starting position on the team.
We're seeing a lot of prospects look very well. Like I typically only follow the Rays because that's my team. That's I'm trying to branch out more. But I know Wanderers looked really good. Taj Bradley's looked very good. So it's very fun to see teams, young players, really stand out.
You know, there's a lot of stuff happening, but
Hmm.
we'll watch more of that as it goes. I know the MLB season starts on the 30th of this month, so that'll be fun to finally begin to watch
Yep,
again.
and we'll get to see all the new rules in place too. That are very
Oh my gosh,
controversial.
the
Did you
pitcher
see the
shot
walk
clock
off?
right now.
Did you see the walk off that ended because of the I think it was the pitch clock or the batter clock or something?
Yes,
Yes.
the batter stepped out while the pitcher was about to pitch, and you can't really call time anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, all right, that's game.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
I will say in
That's
that
what's going
sense, it
on?
will be bad for the game if stuff like that's getting like there has to be phantom calls when it comes to that. And I know it was because it's a spring training game and it's like who cares? We need to establish these rules, so that's probably why it wasn't a big deal, but hopefully we don't see a lot of that going forward, you know.
Yeah,
But
hopefully.
that's a topic we'll get into another day because there's a lot to talk about with the MLB rule changes.
Yeah, most definitely.
But yeah, we'll start wrapping up now. Tariq, was there anything else you wanted to add before the end of the pod here?
Um, no, I don't got none.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and watching. We appreciate all the support. We'll be back here hopefully next week to share more sports news and analysis. We appreciate all your support. Please like, comment, subscribe, share it to a friend. We're really trying to grow our base here, and we can't do it without y'all's support. So please keep it going, and we'll be here next week.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.